Hello and welcome back to Real World Magic, where we make your life more magical. My name is Neil Trigger, I'll be your host, and today we're going to be continuing our series on creating worlds, and this is the third and final part of the series. So if you haven't seen the previous videos, click up here to go to the first of the videos. The second one's linked from the first one. And the first video was getting a little long, so I decided to trim it and release it as 3 parts, which I've never done before, so that's exciting. But I wanted to talk about how you can make reality be whatever you want it to be. It's not like Harry Potter or Dark Phoenix or any other creationist theory. You're not going to have 6 days followed by a rest day in which to create the heavens and the earth. What I'm talking about is real world magic. How does that work? How can you make someone think one thing is real and yet another reality is going on at the same time? Well, the answer is with rapport. Now, I'm not going to go into rapport in much detail. I'm actually preparing another video about rapport, and when it's done, I'll put the link up here. But in the meantime, I need to talk about 3 things. They're called deletion, distortion, and generalisation. My previous videos have spoken about deletion and distortion. The last filter is generalisation, and it's the means by which we know that a chair that we have never seen before is a chair. When I was giving a lecture at Exeter University on this subject, I asked one student to stand up and then sit on the chair. When they sat, I asked why they sat on that object that they call a chair, and they replied that it had 4 legs and it could be sat on, so they knew that it was a chair. But I argued that the table also had 4 legs and could be sat on, as could a dog. The dog wouldn't like it very much though. It was clear that something else was at work at an unconscious level to tell the student that the table was a table and that the chair was a chair. Now, generalisation can also work against us, to fool us. In fact, in magic, this is used a lot. If I picked up a box, which looks like it weighs very little, and I turn it upside down, the generalisation is that the box is probably empty. It may or may not be. This forms the basis of suggestion because it is the unwritten script that's constructed by the observer rather than the magician that convinces the spectator, because they believe themselves. In this way, a ghost hunter can implant ideas into their colleagues and their clients that something is happening whether it is or not. Having said all of this, it's important to realise that generalisations can happen regardless of whether or not you intend to deceive. We deceive. Not only do we deceive others, we also deceive ourselves. Perhaps fooling ourselves is a little easier to swallow for the moment, so let's look at that first. But I'd also like you to realise that when I say deceive or fool, I'm not saying that you're doing this deliberately. Sure, these things can be used deliberately or maliciously if you choose to. I hope you won't, but they can be used to those ends. And as I've said in my book, you can actually make a pretty healthy living doing just that. But again, I hope you won't. Deception is something that you do all the time to yourself as well as others, and without looking, do you know what colour underwear you have on? Is it black? Is it white? Is it some other colour? The chances are, the only way that you'll know for sure is if it's memorable enough that you specifically remember which colour you put on this morning. Alternatively, if you put them on recently, then perhaps you recall it anyway. But if I told you that they were white, for example, and used enough convincers, you might begin to agree with me until you looked, and then you'd know whether I was right or not. A different example might be your watch. I don't know if you have a watch on, but if you do, you must use your watch a lot of times per day to see what the time is. So let's try an experiment. If you do have a watch, look at your watch. Do it now and then look back at me.
If you don't have a watch, don't panic, here's mine.
Done that? Now, without looking back at your watch, what time is it? Specifically, to the minute. You might know, you might not. If not, look again.
This is actually the same footage as before.
Done that? Good. Now, have a think about the watch face itself. Don't look again for a moment. Does it have letters or numbers? Does it have Roman numerals? Does it have the make written on the face? And if so, what make is it? What colour is the face? Does it have a second hand? If so, what colour is the second hand? Is it black, red, white, blue? Does it have the date written on it? And if so, what day is it? What day number of the month is it? Or does it have the letters of the month? Now that you've seen what the specific time was, what was the exact time? And bear in mind that this may have moved on since, but do you recall what it was? I doubt that you'd be able to tell me every detail or all of the answers to all of those questions, every detail of your watch, and yet you look at it every single day, possibly several times per hour. This is an example of you deceiving yourself. You don't know everything about your watch because you don't need to. It's on your wrist, you look at it when you need to know the time, and then you forget about it, and that's the way it should be. But if you're like most people, you have very little idea of what your watch really looks like, beyond the fact that it might have a metal strap and a couple of hands. This is mainly down to the first filter, deletion, but it has hints of the other two as well. You see, generalisation allows you to generalise that most watches have a second hand, so yours probably does too, and it might not. And distortion allows you to recognise that the watch that's on your wrist is probably yours, even though you're not sure what yours actually looks like. And similarly, when you look at your time on your watch, it will always be different, provided it's working, but you still recognise it as yours. There's a good trick that I've done a few times where I steal a watch from a spectator and then replace it with someone else's watch. The trick requires some powerful misdirection, but it can be done, and it's much better if you swap a male and female watch, because swapping two male watches can lead to people being sure that the watch that they're now wearing is their own, can cause problems. Female watches seem to be a bit more ornate and easier to distinguish between them. So, the watch example is a good example of deletion at work, because we delete things all the time. Are you sure that you lock the front door of your house? Well, we make sense of the world and we also mess it up. But what about distortion? If we discuss distortion, then we can add a lot of extra information to the mix. The best way to explain how people deceive themselves with distortion is to give my favourite example. When conducting a séance in a haunted cinema, we gathered in a large circle standing in front of the screen. We all held hands and closed our eyes so as to more effectively channel the spirits, and the circle then started to sway as the medium directed us. The swaying then became more pronounced, and eventually the circle wave was so pronounced many of us felt like we were going to fall over. Distortion was occurring to us. It was telling us that the circle was swaying more than it actually was. And this allowed the ideomotor effect, which I'll explain in another video, to take hold and make the illusion more pronounced. I'll add a link up here when I've recorded and uploaded that. We were the ones who accentuated and exaggerated the movements ourselves. It had nothing to do with spirits at all. And indeed, I've since repeated the phenomena, talking about fictional ghosts in a non-haunted location. I have even started to sway myself and then stepped out of the circle so as to not influence anything. This apparent honesty is actually very disarming, but truth be told, once the suggestion of movement is placed within the group, it's easy for the sway to continue without me anyway. Deletion was then used for the participants to totally forget that I was ever involved in the circle at all, and I did that through linguistics, and it makes for the whole experience to become much more real for them. It can even be very difficult for me to explain how I did it later, because people say to me, "But you were never in the circle." Something you need to remember when you investigate these kinds of phenomena is that you can be influenced very easily yourself, and a subtle mix of any of these tools, techniques or principles can lead to a very convincing paranormal encounter. But if you do know about each of them, you might be able to unpick some of what's been going on. Thanks very much for watching. I really do appreciate every single view. If you like this video, please click the like button, subscribe for more of the same, and if you want to be notified of future uploads, press the bell button. I'll upload my next video tomorrow, but until then, stay magical.